Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. It's Deep Sport Insights, your new home for MMA breakdowns and fight picks. Today, we're taking a look at UFC Fight Night Noche, which takes place in San Antonio, Texas. This is an earlier card, much like last week, but this one starts around 3 p.m. Eastern if you find yourself on the East Coast. Before we get into it, just want to go over how we performed last time. Just kind of showing our stats. So UFC Paris did not go well for us. First time we broke down 14 fights. Although we had the right reads, if you go and watch those breakdowns, we did break down the fights the way that they did play out. Essentially, the results just didn't go our way. Some of them were when we took, for example, Patterson to win by submission decision, and he ended up getting the KO. Like, we had the right side, we had the right reads. It's just the bets didn't work out, and sometimes that happens. But oh well, we'll lock in. We'll get it back for this next one. I'm not putting out a video for Dana White Contender Series Week 5 this time around, simply because I took a look at that card, did my research, and I was shocked at how poor this collection of fighters are. I've been watching fights for probably 15 years now, and this is probably the lowest average of 5 fights you can bring together and put on a card, especially anything that has any relation to the words UFC. So for that reason, I'm not even betting on it. It's about to start in a couple of hours, actually, from the point I'm recording this. So I'm recording this on Tuesday. I have no interest in betting on it. So just putting that out there. There's some really low-level fighters. We're coming off a really good Dana White Contender Series where there was some really good talent and it was an amazing card. Dana White Contender Series Week 5 is not going to be it. I'll be surprised there's more than 3 contracts awarded, if there's 3 contracts awarded. All right? And that's kind of my bold prediction out there this time. That being said, now let's get into the actual breakdowns for UFC Noche. So taking a look at the early prelims, we get started looking at Rodrigo Sezinando versus Daniil Donchenko. This is a welterweight bout. Oh, let me put myself back in the corner. I always forget to put myself in the corner. There we go. Good. Okay. So this is actually the Ultimate Fighter Series finale, originally booked for UFC 319, but it was delayed due to travel issues for Rodrigo Sezinando. His biggest advantage is going to be on the mat. If he can drag the fight down, he'll be in his comfort zone. The problem, though, is his wrestling isn't great, and he struggles to chain attempts together. On the other side, you have Daniil Donchenko. He's a Tiger Muay Thai striker, so we know he's going to be sharp, powerful, willing to exchange, and even if he eats a shot, he'll stay there to make sure he gives a shot back. That's that traditional Muay Thai style. He is hittable, but I don't think Rodrigo Sezinando is going to be able to take advantage of those opportunities to hit him and he's just going to get hit a lot harder. I do like Daniil Donchenko in this one because I don't think Sezinando will be able to get this to the mat. Plus, these guys had to cut weight again, and that's a big factor here. Cardio could also be a deciding factor. Both men had to cut weight twice due to the reschedule, and historically, that hurts grapplers more than strikers. If Sezinando tires from shooting, Donchenko's chances to land clean increase dramatically. This fight is essentially, can Sezinando land takedowns early, or does Donchenko keep it standing? My read is Donchenko has the edge, and I like him by KO or decision. I think he might get a late KO in this fight. Moving on, we have the next fight is between Monsterrat, Rendon, and Alice Pereira. No relation to Alex Pereira. She's a 19-year-old coming off the regional scene. She's pretty hyped because she has 6 wins by finish, I believe, or 5 wins by finish. 5 of her 6 wins are by finish. 19 years old. Again, it's not a high level of competition, not a whole lot of experience. And now she's going up against Monsterrat Rendon, who is 17 years older than her. That is quite significant. And usually we say, age is a huge factor. Not necessarily in women's MMA, because power and speed are a little bit different there. And here you have 17 more years of knowledge. She has more than twice the fight knowledge that Alice Pereira has, because Alice Pereira at 2-3 years old wasn't learning combat fighting. She was learning how to use the toilet. So for that reason, it's very fair to say Monsterrat Rendon honestly has twice as much experience as Alice Pereira in this spot, and experience is going to be the key. You're giving me the Mexican fighter on UFC Noche night as the underdog, and a fighter who has solid takedown defense and has solid takedowns of her own. Now, she's coming off a win, not against very high-level competition, but I don't consider Alice Pereira to be significantly high-level competition either. She definitely wants to keep it standing, which is going to be a problem here because I see 4 of her wins come by KO, again, on the regional scene. Monsterrat Rendon has no finishes because she likes to grapple and clinch. And if she clinches and grapples, even if she's not successful getting the takedowns, I feel like she neutralizes Alice Pereira's game here. She's also physically a little bit bigger than Alice Pereira. Pereira will stand slightly taller. But with the veterancy, with all the extra tricks of the trade and the bigger bag she'll have available to her across 15 minutes, I like Monsterrat Rendon. Also because she has a grappling heavy style, I see her stifling all the kickboxing attempts or the striking from Alice Pereira and really frustrating her. I don't see Pereira wanting to engage on the ground because that's where Rendon wants to be. And she has enough cardio to keep this for 15 minutes. So give me the underdog on this. Give me Monsterrat Rendon as the side. And give me Rendon by decision as she usually does. Next up, we move to the prelims. Next up, we have Alessandro Costa versus Eldon Coria. Now, this is an interesting fight. This is a flyweight bout, and it's all about clash of styles. Coria is a wrestler with that classic American kind of run-the-pipe style of takedowns. He likes to get to a single leg, push you back, and then kind of get the drop on you. But he's very hittable, and he's predictable, and often shoots without setting up properly. Costa, on the other hand, yeah, he's smaller here, but that's, I think, what's going to give him the advantage. He has a lot of wins by finish, 5 wins by KO, 6 by submission. He's a very dangerous dude. Yes, he's 5'4", very small, but that's going to be the advantage because Coria, like we said, likes to grab the single and shoot through and run the pipe. That's going to be very hard against a dude that's has a really long torso, so relatively short legs. So his hips are low. So now Coria, where he's usually getting the takedowns relatively easily at 5'8", is up against some guy who's 5'4", where he's gonna have to shoot downwards and try and get those takedowns. So they're not the takedowns he's comfortable with. On top of that, Alessandro Costa is gonna be able to get those underhooks and prevent and stuff a lot of those takedowns. It's going to be tricky because flyweights are fast and Costa can move. And I think Coria here is going to try to get in there and try to initiate the grappling. That's going to fatigue him because he's not going to be able to keep that pace, and Costa is going to neutralize a lot of it. On the feet, I definitely see the advantage for Costa. He has very crisp, clean boxing, has good power. I see him dominating here, and he might get a late finish because Coria is going to figure out there's nothing in his bag that he really has to offer Costa. I see Costa getting the finish here by KO or submission. Probably late, not early in the fight. I like it later, but so play that how you may. Costa's the clear side. I like Costa by finish, leaning towards a submission finish for Costa, but I don't want to bet. It could be a club and sub on the ground, and also he wants to keep it standing. So, yeah, Costa by finish is the betting side because minus 455 or more. It's probably closer to minus 450, I would guess, or minus 400 by the time the fight actually kicks off because I don't think Costa's worth minus 450, so that's why I'm doing the inside the distance. I'm not going to be betting Costa as a money line on this one. All right, next one we have Zachary Reese versus Cedric Dumas. This is a fight of glass cannons. Zachary Reese has more reliable weapons than Cedric Dumas. He definitely has more power. He's a stronger, more physical fighter. He's going to be taller here as well. He also has a much more well-rounded grappling game than Cedric Dumas. Dumas doesn't have takedown defense. He doesn't really look like he has good submission defense either. It looks like he just learns like, teach me all the jiu-jitsu stuff that helps me submit people really easily. And then beyond that, he doesn't really learn. He hasn't shown much in the octagon. I don't know if he knows how to even get good passes or if he knows any sweeps. So that's a significant question. And when it comes to striking, he's shown that he's very vulnerable. When he takes a hit, he does quit. I don't think Cedric Dumas is locked in for this fight. If you're paying attention to what's been going on in the UFC or on Cedric Dumas' socials, you'll notice he's been having some issues with law enforcement and the courts. He's on house arrest right now. He has an ankle monitor. Is the reason this fight had to be rescheduled originally. It was supposed to take place, I think, on UFC 319. I might have that wrong. But now they're trying to have this take place here because Cedric Dumas was finally able to get a judge who was able to get that ankle monitor removed for this fight. Problem is, I don't think Cedric Dumas was ever focused on this fight. I don't think he's ready. Even if he was the best Cedric Dumas that we've ever seen to this point, I still think Zachary Reese would still be a minus 250 favorite. I think Cedric Dumas is going there to get a paycheck because he was even posting on social media like, hey, he has like $12 in his bank account left, and he's like, these are the consequences, and this is leading up to fight week. So if you're thinking about money on the week you're cutting weight for your fight, your motivation's all there. You're not thinking about getting knocked out. You're not thinking about the hype. You're not thinking about being champion. You're like, yo, I need to get paid, and it's very clear that's where Cedric's head is at. I think Zachary Reese KO or submission, Zachary Reese inside the distance, Cedric Dumas there to collect a check. The second he makes weight and he walks inside the octagon and he gets that show money, I don't think he's even looking for that win money. The second he eats a hit, the second he ends up on his back, he's just looking for a way out. I don't think he even survives the first round. I think he's a quitter just because of everything else that's going on. maybe in another reality, if some things worked out better for Cedric Dumas, this could have been a great redemption story because that's what it was sold as when he made his debut on the Dana White Contender Series a year or two ago. I remember watching him on that debut, and I was like, okay, they really spun that story, and you got excited about it. But this turned into more of a horror story now for the UFC, where it's like this guy just doesn't seem to get his head on straight, and it looks like they're done with him, and they're throwing him to Zachary Reese. And once he loses here, they probably don't want anything to do with Cedric Dumas, and that's the pick. Next up is Jesus Aguilar versus Luis Gurule. Okay, did my research here, and I think this is a tougher fight than the odds imply, and I think this is going to get closer as the fight, as we get closer to Saturday's fight time. Jesus Aguilar is known for one thing, and that's his guillotines. He has 5 career wins by guillotine, and if you leave your neck exposed, he'll snatch it instantly. Beyond that, his skill set is limited. His striking is basic. His volume is low. You see that in the 1.7 significant strikes landed per minute and the 1.1 absorbed. He really likes to grapple. That's his bread and butter. He has a 1 fluke knockout win over Shannon Ross, but that means absolutely nothing. And then you have the opposite side of it. We have Luis Gurule, who's coming off a fluke loss. Well, not fluke loss. It was Audie Osborne, a difficult short notice UFC debut. But before that, Luis Gurule was undefeated. Goes against Audie Osborne, gets KO'd in the second round. It was a good fight, though. On the feet, Luis Gurule will dominate this fight, and I think he has enough grappling here to keep it standing because Jesus Aguilar does not have the takedowns to support his jiu-jitsu, but he's creates these grappling exchanges that also create opportunities for his guillotines. He will get in the clinch. He'll look, he'll stand tall trying to get a judo throw. Then when he fails and he tries to drip down, he'll go for the neck. So he's okay doing that, even if it doesn't guarantee a win, because it creates opportunities to get a win. That's Jesus Aguilar's style. So can Luis Gurule stay defensively sound and shut down those windows of opportunity for Jesus Aguilar for 15 minutes? If he does that, he wins the fight. He doesn't really have to do much more beyond that because Aguilar is essentially he has to finish the fight or he loses, and his path to victory is by submission. He is not locking out Luis Gurule. That was a fluke knockout over Sharon Ross. Luis Gurule is a very tough dude. Yeah, give me Luis Gurule, but I don't like it at minus 220. So at these current odds, it's a pass spot for me. I'm not playing this. Also knowing that Aguilar is pretty much only going for the finish here, and Gurule's could get a KO, but also could coast his way to decision because Aguilar is going to put himself in dumb positions that are going to give the rounds and the minutes to Gurule. Gurule doesn't really have the incentive to finish if the decisions are going that way, but also he has the power and the capability, and 5 KO finishes, and yeah, so half his wins are by finish. So definitely the viability there. So I don't even see the over-under value. I don't see a submission side angle. This is a tough spot to bet. It's going to be an interesting fight, but I think it's something that will be relatively forgettable by the time the whole card is over. And yeah, that's the breakdown. Next up, we have Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos. Okay, minus 440 on Tatiana Suarez is crazy, especially over her after she came off that last fight where she looked slow, wasn't able to get anything going against Weili Zhang, and she was coming off a hiatus, so people were unsure what she was going to look like, and she looked slow. And I remember betting on Tatiana Suarez in that fight, and I felt so stupid because she was never in that fight against Weili Zhang. Now, on the opposite side, Amanda Lemos has also not won against Weili Zhang, or Zhang Weili. I'm sorry for whoever you guys want to hear it. But that's a higher caliber fighter. Those are champions and champion contenders we're talking about. Amanda Lemos also lost to Verna Jandiroba. Jandiroba is going to be fighting for a title very, very soon, and she's a dominant grappler. So you see where Lemos has had the trouble in losing to grapplers in the past. You would think, Tatiana Suarez is going to come in here, grapple her, and get the win. What's not being shown is the trajectory at which these women are meeting. Tatiana Suarez is showing that she had a significant drop off in her performance in that Weili Zhang fight compared to her previous fights, where she would just take you down, dominate you, and get that finish. And it's like she's not here for no long talks. She'll take you down, get a TKO ground and pound or submission win, and she was just dominant with the way she knew how to go through her progressions. Amanda Lemos, amazing kickboxer, fought the best of the division already. She's had her title fight. She's had the 5-round fights. Hasn't had her hand raised as a champion just yet, but she's had her opportunities and she's looked good in some of these fights. Again, in any striking match, she looks great. She's coming off a fight where people thought she would lose to the much younger Yasmin Lucindo, who's doing great in the UFC right now. But Amanda Lemos was able to Use her veterancy, use her forward pressure, use her striking, avoid any kind of ground threats, and she was able to win that. What I also want to highlight is in the fights where Amanda Lemos knew she would be going up against a grappler, she prepared quite well. She avoided almost all takedowns in the first 2 rounds, the majority of her fights, and she was able to get back to her feet. It's when she got taken down in the 3rd round and after that she wasn't quite able to return to his feet because she was getting tired. This is a 3-round fight. So Amanda Lemos has been training for 25-round fights. She's the bigger girl here. She's trained against grapplers, and she should also... Sorry, excuse me. Just scratching my throat there. But Amanda Lemos should be able to keep this fight standing with her takedown defense. I think she'll get taken down late, maybe once or twice. If she gets taken out early, this is going to be a problem. It is going to be a long fight, and she might not even survive it. But I think she does. And if she survives that first fight, you're holding a Tatiana Suarez ticket at minus 440. You would have saw Amanda Lemos obviously win all the time standing. Unless Tatiana Suarez was just clinching for 4 minutes and 45 seconds of that first round but wasn't able to secure a takedown, Amanda Lemos was likely landing the strikes and shots on Tatiana Suarez, and she's eating them. So she would probably loses that first round. So now now he goes into the second round. Well, if Tatiana wasn't securing the takedowns in the first, it might be hard. She might abandon them in the second. Whereas with Lemos, you want to keep at that takedowns. You want to keep trying to get them, and eventually you'll get them down. If she gets them in the third here, I think it might be too little too late. That is why I can visualize how Amanda Lemos gets this done, and it's how she wins all her other fights that people thought she was going to lose. It's because she goes in there, she works harder, she knows she has to keep the fight on her feet, and she's staying aware of when the takedown shots are being made. Tatiana Suarez is really sick on the ground, but the jiu-jitsu or the grappling isn't that great. And I think Amanda Lemos can slow her down. I like Amanda Lemos as a slide and a low to mid confidence pick. It's definitely the right value side here. I see this fight getting a lot closer as we get closer to Saturday in terms of betting odds. So I would like to place Amanda Lemos early in the week if you like Amanda Lemos. And then Amanda Lemos by decision. I think she wins a 29-28 over Tatiana Suarez. People are going to be so pissed off. They'll be like, oh, women's MMA. And they'll just move on. It's the type of stuff you usually see and people kind of forget and they never learn their lesson. Because otherwise you're betting Tatiana Suarez here. You're like, oh, I was right. Tatiana won. She took her down. She grappled her. $100 pays you not even $25. Like, how are you betting that? And there's no guarantee she gets it because she couldn't do it in her last fight. That was the path to victory against Weili Zhang. She couldn't do it. And Amanda Lemos is that level of competition, but with just a different skill set. We don't know if Tatiana Suarez actually recovered well from that surgery, that layoff, heading to Weili Zhang fight. She could look, if she comes out the same way she looked against Weili Zhang or Zhang Weili, I don't expect her to beat Amanda Lemos. I actually really like the breakdown that I just provided and that visual of how she'll secure a 29-28 win, how Amanda Lemos will secure that win over Tatiana Suarez. All right. Oh, next fight. Claudio Puelles versus Joaquim Silva. I'll make this one quite easy. Claudio Puelles is a jiu-jitsu nerd. He just rolls for legs. Imanari rolls in the UFC more than anyone else. I remember when I used to bet on Claudio Puelles, and I'll never let myself make that mistake again. I've grown as a man. I've matured, and I've known. And part of being a man is make sure you stick to your word, make sure you stand on business, and make sure you don't bet on Claudio Puelles. And I'm not going to bet on Claudio Puelles here. I think Joaquim Silva, who comes from a BJJ background and look at those cauliflower ears, has enough jiu-jitsu competency where he's not going to get submitted. And I think he'll take it personally as a Brazilian to get submitted in Brazilian jiu-jitsu by a guy from, Peru. You got to stand on business, bro. You can't let that happen. And I don't think he will. I think these odds are great. Yeah, Joaquim Silva's old, but for the skill set, the way this fight's going to take place, pace isn't going to be an issue. Claudio's going to be doing a lot of scrambles, and every time he's scrambling, he's going to be losing the round. He's going to be going into positions where he's losing the fight. In the striking, he offers absolutely nothing. So I know Joaquim's going to dominate there for sure. Yeah, Joaquim's been knocked out twice, but it's not going to happen with Claudio Puelles. This guy does not have hands. So I think this fight goes the distance because I don't think anyone gets finished here. I do like Joaquim Silva as the side. Probably Joaquim Silva by decision. He could knock out Claudio Puelles, especially if he knows how to pin this guy down. If he gets in those weird, knee attacks, and this guy kind of, traps him in the bottom and starts just pounding away at his face. That happens a lot to a lot of these guys who like to look for those knee bars and roll for those heel hooks. And I feel like it's well-deserved if that does happen to him here. So, probably not the decision, but Joaquim Silva at almost even money. This is a really easy fight for me. At even money, Joaquim Silva is a clear side here. All right, next up, Jose Medina versus Dusko Todorovic. Both these guys are not good, but Jose Medina's another level of not good. He gets hit. He almost throws like from here, so his hands are here, and he throws like yeah. But notice all the space here, because that's what his opponents see. So the way I'm kind of standing in front of here, that's how he stands in front of his opponents. This is his opponent's visual, and it's just like he's just getting hit down the middle, and then he'll be like, oh, that was really good, sick, bro. He's like just leaking from the nose. That is Jose Medina's style. It's not gonna win you any fights, and that's kind of the breakdown. Dusko Todorovic, on the other side, has been knocked out 4 times. I am concerned about that because let's say he isn't able to put Medina away, because Medina can take a whooping. Todorovic could fade. If you have chin issues and you fade in front of Medina, he might be able to catch you. Because he has good hands, but it's just that his defense doesn't let him stay in the fights long enough to take advantage of those. Because he just takes too much of a whooping. But he is quite durable. He has low fight IQ. He takes a beating. He almost absorbs twice as many shots. He absorbs more than twice as many shots as he throws out there. Whereas Dusko, on the other hand, high volume, gets in those phone booth exchanges, but also puts out high volume. Dusko wins this by putting out more volume. Dusko wins this by landing more accurate punches. Dusko wins this by having better defense. Neither of these guys want to grapple, but if they do want to grapple, the grappling upside is completely with Dusko Todorovic. So Dusko Todorovic is a side. It's ridiculous ever betting this guy minus 325, but if you're ever going to do it, it's against Jose Medina, who's just not good. He's just fun to watch, because if you gave a punching bag, a soul, if you gave a punching bag, a soul, an opportunity, and some hands, that's Jose Medina. So Dusko Todorovic, I don't think gets knocked out by a punching bag. So that's the pick. That's the breakdown. The side is Dusko Todorovic. And then finally, this takes us into the fight between Alexander Hernandez and Diego Ferreira. 8-year age gap between these two gentlemen. Alexander Ferreira is coming off that win. Alexander Hernandez is coming off that win against Chase Hooper. That's probably why he's a slight favorite in this fight, because Chase Hooper was a pretty good win. I think he was, a plus 200 underdog in that fight, or a plus 300 underdog. And he knocked him out because he has good hands, tight boxing. Looks like he's piecing it all together. From what I understand, he's made changes in his gym or where he trains over the past year or two. So that could be a significant factor of why he's trying to bring it all together now. We know he's always had finishing upside. He does start to slow down like after a round and a half, but he is dangerous early and he doesn't go away. He'll stay in your face. Diego Ferreira throws bombs, but they're looping shots. I would like to say Alexander Hernandez would not get hit by that, but we've seen him get hit. I don't know if he gets put out by a 40-year-old Ferreira. I especially don't think he gets put out by a 40-year-old Ferreira past the 5-minute mark, because I think there's going to be a significant drop-off in that power from both men, especially the 40-year-old Ferreira, especially since Hernandez, at least showed with Hooper, will stay in your face. He will pressure. He'll mix in the wrestling. So that will get Diego slowing down. It'll get him second-guessing, and it'll get him backing up. It'll slow him down, essentially. And the longer this fight goes, it definitely prefers Alex Hernandez. He will put out more volume than Diego Ferreira here, and Diego Ferreira does not have the path to victory in a submission game here, because Alexander Hernandez is also well-rounded in the ground game. This is an even fight, though, but I like Alex Hernandez as a side. I just wish he was the dog. Because of that Chase Hooper win, he's minus 130 here, and I think that's a fair line. I don't see any edge for me as a bettor on this. So, how do we squeeze out value on this? This fight might get finished. It might not go the distance. It could also go the distance if there's a lot of grappling and not a lot of striking. I want to see Alexander Hernandez win, but Diego Ferreira also throws bombs, and he could hit Hernandez, and Hernandez has been knocked out 3 times in the UFC already. So I just want to put that out there. People might have a very clean pick here, but this is tough. This should be a good fight. I like Hernandez. This probably this won't end up on any parlay. I'm confident on that one. All right, on to the next fight. Now we get into the main card. We start with Santiago Luna versus Quang Le. When this fight first opened, Santiago Luna was the dog, and now he's moved to the favorite in just about 2 or 3 days. He is the Mexican local. He's young at just 21 years old, but this guy is lethal. He comes forward, fast hands, aggressive. He can be hit, but he's always coming forward to take your head off. He wants every win by finish. Across from him, you have Quang Le. Quang Le is the Vietnamese fighter. Problem here is I don't think the UFC cares much for Quang Le. He got a win over Bolaños, which was an upset win. I remember I had Bolaños in that fight too. It was a long time ago. But Bolaños has no ground game. He's completely a kickboxer. We thought Kang Lee would engage in that kind of fight with him. He did not. Went to the grappling, secured the grappling, got the submission win. He does not have that avenue to victory here against Santiago Luna. Luna's far better in the grappling, but I think Kang Lee will still initiate or go to it when he finds himself hurt or anything, because Santiago Luna is going to come forward and he's going to try to look to initiate the grappling regardless. And I think Kang Lee's a better hammer than he is a nail. So when I see a wrestler putting the pace on him, I don't see him being quite successful. I think he'll get worked by Santiago Luna. I think Luna will be able to find his way to the back, and I think he'll be able to submit Kang Lee in this position. Give me Santiago Luna as a side. Give me Santiago Luna by submission in this fight. Next up, Kevin Gastelum versus Dustin Stoltzfus. This is a significant step down in competition for Kevin Gastelum. Step up for Dustin Stoltzfus. Kevin Gastelum is a veteran. We've seen him fight the Izzy Adesanyas. He's just coming off the win over Joe Pyfer. And we saw he could kickbox because Joe Pyfer barely won that fight. And especially near the end there, Kevin Gastelum was putting him to work. If Kevin Gastelum stays pretty consistent throughout all 50 minutes of that fight, and he's almost impossible to knock out. He's just really good. He is vulnerable in the submission game, but Dustin Stoltzfus does not have a high enough wrestling game or submission game to really threaten Kevin Gastelum or really take or oh my god, what am I looking for here? His takedown defense will hold. Kevin Gastelum will keep the fight standing, and then he'll kickbox because Joe Pyfer wasn't able to get anything going on the ground, and Joe Pyfer is better than Dustin Stoltzfus. That's why Kevin Gastelum was an underdog in that fight. He's almost a 3-1 favorite in this one, and that's very fair odds. Kevin Gastelum is the clear side here. I like him as a parlay piece. It sucks that he's minus 275. I would have loved this as this was like minus 180 or minus 200, because I feel like Vegas could have convinced people that Dustin Stoltzfus is better than he is with those implied odds. But these are accurate lines because Kevin Gastelum is going to box his way to a victory here and keep the standing, and it's going to look a lot like that Joe Pyfer fight, but it's just going to go his way. That's the breakdown here. Next up, Rafa Garcia and Jared Gordon. I don't like this fight because I don't know if I can trust Jared Gordon, but he should be the side that gets this done. This should be a kickboxing match where Jared Gordon puts Rafa Garcia through the paces. Jared Gordon's takedown defense is significantly improved, and plus he knows how to get back to his feet. So I don't think Rafa Garcia will be able to get anything going on the ground. And Rafa Garcia is really looking to secure a submission win when he gets to the ground. I don't think he gets Jared Gordon down on the mat more than once in this fight. Maybe twice, but I see Jared Gordon always returning back to his feet. If he holds him down, it's because the round's about to end and Jared Gordon kind of is like, I don't care anymore. I don't see Jared Gordon get taken down in the third round, especially. And that third round's important because that third round is the one that really influences the judges. So I see Jared Gordon winning the third round, which is going to be important. I see him winning either the first or second. And I see Jared Gordon working his way to a victory here on the scorecards. He could get a knockout, so I'm not saying, oh yeah, Jared Gordon by decision. Jared Gordon is definitely the side I would lean in this fight, and probably by decision. But TKO decision probably the same as the money line. Next, we got Rob Font versus David Martinez. David Martinez is the brother of Melissa Martinez, and people are pretty excited about this debut. Not the debut. He won his first fight in the UFC. Kind of gave him a can that he was supposed to crush, and he did knock the guy out in like 2-3 minutes. Now he goes up against Rob Font, a past his prime Rob Font, which we know Rob Font wants to box. Well, so does Martinez. Martinez has hands. So this is going to be a standing kickboxing match between these two. Because David Martinez, he's not much for those ground game, long talks. You see, no submission wins. He's 100% takedown defense. He wants to stand. He wants to box. This guy can take a hit, and he throws powerful hands. I think Rob Font is just not going to look as good optically when he eats those shots, even though when he count the punches, count the damage, when you count all the damage up, it's going to look very close, but optically, Rob Font's going to wince a lot more when David Martinez throws. Martinez is going to throw, and when he gets hit, he's pretty much just going to ignore it and push through, and those optics are what's going to influence this fight to tilt toward David Martinez. Now, Rob Font could really show levels to this game here, but it's a 15-minute fight, which I do also anticipate to take place at a very high pace and a lot of forward pressure from David Martinez. If David Martinez gives Rob Font too much respect early, or Rob Font's able to land a shot early and get David Martinez respect, this is going to be a very close fight. It's going to be such a close fight, in fact, that the odds would be accurate. And that's where I'm trying to go with this. At these lines, I got to take David Martinez at plus 110 because I think he should be a minus 120 favorite here. I think Rob Font, if Rob Font was 140 or better, I would automatically just start playing him because it's going to be a close boxing match. And Rob Font would have that upside of, hey, that veterancy, the skill set, the good footwork. He can play it correctly the way he has. Next week, but between the two of them, I'll definitely lean more towards David Martinez to get the boxing done. 15 minutes of striking. Who knows? He might be the first guy to actually put away Rob Font. Not betting on it, but it's possible. And finally, the main event of the evening between Diego Lopes and Jean Silva. I'm so excited for this fight. This is going to be a banger. I've wanted to see this for a while. I also want to see the Diego Lopes-Yair Rodriguez fight, so that's my opinion on it if anyone was curious. Because I think that would have been... I want to see beef in a fight. I want to see some real emotion. And I think Diego Lopes will beat the donkey shit out of Yair Rodriguez. And I just want to see it. I don't like Yair. I just don't like Yair. But then now there's Jean Silva. Now, I worry for Diego Lopes because he struggled with Alexander Volkanovski, and Jean Silva is like an Alexander Volkanovski with a little bit of autism. And if you know mixed martial arts or combat sports, that's dangerous. Fighters with autism, they get the job done. High-level jiu-jitsu, high-level grappling, they learn really fast, they adjust on the fly, they don't get emotional about it, they don't allow the crowd to get in their ears, they might just hear their own voice, or maybe it might be a barking dog that they hear in their head, who knows, but Jean Silva, I'm pretty sure we know what the voice inside his head sounds like. I like Jean Silva because he is tough, he's going to come forward, he'll throw out more volume. And also, what did we see between Diego Lopes and Alexander Volkanovski? Similarities between Volkanovski and Jean Silva are there. Volkanovski a little bit better boxing overall. Jean Silva better kickboxing. He'll throw in more kicks than Volkanovski does. The reason for that is Volkanovski really doesn't want to play the game with the takedowns. He kind of uses his hands to keep you in front of him, and then he'll shoot, and he wants to dictate that pace. With Jean Silva, definitely doesn't have the grappling game that Volkanovski has, but he's a well-rounded game, and he's well-versed in it. I think he definitely likes to keep this fight standing. Diego Lopes has a clear advantage in the grappling here, but I don't know if he has the takedowns or the wrestling to bring this fight to the mat because he wasn't able to get it going against Volkanovski. Again, Volkanovski had better takedown defense, and if there's any critique of that Diego Lopes fight against Volk, was Diego looked like he was waiting to get started. If he takes that feedback to heart and he gets going a little sooner or earlier in this fight, that could be effective for him because you put Jean Silva on the back foot, get Jean Silva to chase and have Jean Silva open up his game to make mistakes because Jean Silva will be fighting from behind, whereas usually he's controlling those fights that has at his pace. The problem with Diego Lopes, when we saw that Volkanovski fight, we saw frustration. We saw when the game plan wasn't working or he was able to secure those takedowns, they're striking with Volk, and it's a whole lot of 50-50, 55-45 type of striking moments. You're unsure if you're winning, but you know you shouldn't be losing. He got frustrated, and he started doing things like he throwing over his lead leg, started chasing, and Volk, as the fight got on, Volk was taking advantage of when Diego Lopes was losing patience as that fight was slowly starting to slip away. Because Volk is very accurate. He's on top. He's counting the pennies to make sure he finishes with that dollar at the end of the fight. Diego Lopes, throws dimes out there, and at the end, hopefully he hits a payday. Jean Silva, more methodical. I think these guys keep it striking for the first little bit. I think in the fourth and fifth round will really show what's going to happen. If Jean Silva slows down but is exposed to the grappling, huge problem. Diego Lopes on his back late could get a finish, and I might sprinkle in that angle because, hey, it's a good hedge, especially if I have a parlay running, and now I'm left in my main event at the end there. I do like Jean Silva. It's a good hedge to have Diego Silva by a late sub because that's the path he'll need to try and come back late in this fight. Whereas Jean Silva, let's say they kickbox for 2-3 rounds. I don't think anyone gets finished in the first 3 rounds. And now after that, Jean Silva has done enough where Diego Lopes just stopped shooting like he did in the Volk fight. Now they'll keep it striking where Jean Silva will continue to land a little bit more volume. Diego Lopes will be frustrated, so he'll throw a little bit where he should throw. He'll be throwing shots that aren't as smart or selective as he was earlier in the fight, like he was doing in the Volk fight. And Jean Silva will take advantage, piece him up, low kicks, body kicks, taunt him, bark at him. It'll look good optically, especially late, and he'll steal it on the scorecards. Diego Lopes will likely need a finish to win this fight because if you look, his losses come by decision. He lost to Volk by decision. So decisions aren't his friends. He looks to finish the fight. Jean Silva could win this by just kickboxing on the outside, avoiding takedowns, barking, and he can win a decision fight 4 rounds to 1, maybe 3-2. And that's my breakdown for this one. Obviously, because I'm filming this on Tuesday and relatively early on Tuesday, we don't have a fight card or a fight parlay that I can give you guys right now. I will upload a reel later in the week, or maybe another video, or maybe a full breakdown of just kind of the best fights. Expect that on Friday or late Friday, maybe early on Friday. I'll be at both the Jays games on Wednesday and Thursday. So that's why I wanted to get this up sooner than later. And lines always change, and some books don't get them up in time. I've called out a few books in the past. I'll stop doing that now. But yeah, that's the breakdown for today. Expect a parlay ticket to be uploaded on the reel shortly. Make sure you follow us on TikTok, like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notification bell, leave something in the comments. Let me know your best bet. Let me know what you've hit. Let me know your predictions for this weekend. Cheers, guys.